For great ideas and practical tools you can start using tomorrow to grow your business and separate you from the competition, you've come to the right place. If you're into B2B marketing and sales, then welcome to the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. With over 60 and counting total years in the trenches of businesses small and large, they have a plethora of knowledge and experience that generate you more leads, capture more clients, ring up more sales. Well, doggone it, just make you more money. How about that? Always thought-provoking, yet dubiously entertaining. Please welcome to their respective microphones across 3 time zones, your co-ringmasters, the Dave Loomis, and not the rock star, Steve Miller.
Hey everybody, this is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad, marketing gunslinger. This is how we start these, Justin.
It really is.
This is exactly how we start these. You know, Steve Miller, not the rock star, Kelly's dad, marketing gunslinger. I'm the author of so many books.
So many books. He has so many books that he actually sends out emails and says he's going to discontinue some of them.
I'm going to. Well, that's a product.
Oh,
but anyway,
sorry.
And with me is my cohort, but he has a heart. In crime,
compadre,
Mr. David Mayo Loomis.
Yes, in the house.
He is the author of, where did I put your book? Oh, well, it's not here. Of Marketing is Everything We Do.
How serving others will bring success in business and in life.
I have no intention of memorizing that entire title.
That's okay. If I can't memorize it.
And for those of you that are watching the video of this, you can see that there's somebody else here.
There's a third person.
There's a third person here. Those of you that are listening, you could probably hear his heartbeat and his breathing, low and shallow. And Justin Fagan. Justin Fagan is, I think we can just safely say, he is our number one fan. Number one BFF.
Right. He's not a stalker.
And you know what?
Not been threatened yet.
What, Justin?
I know the format so much that you forgot one thing. Welcome to the B2B sales and marketing.
I get there at my own pace.
No.
Sometimes it doesn't happen. No. Like we're halfway through, and then that's right. I forgot to say that.
That was a good.
And if you also know that it took me months to get the damn title right.
I know. Yeah. I've been practicing it all morning because I was going to jump in there.
All right. So here's the thing. We got to thinking that, hey, you know what would be cool is if we reached out to our listener and see if he would like to come on and talk to us and tell us about what he does and how he does it, and you know what, and who knows? I mean, maybe we can come up with something that maybe we can give him some ideas about.
Yeah, and also episodes where we have had guests have been typically our most popular episodes. So we're expecting big things.
I would really rather you didn't share that information.
Oh, well,
I have a fragile macho male author professional speaker ego, and
we have a point of diminishing returns.
So
Steve and Dave.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was an econ major.
So Justin, welcome. I'm so excited to have somebody else to talk to. Justin, who are you?
What do I do?
Buddy? What do you do?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
What do I do? That's the
I hope that you're in B2B marketing or sales. That's all I can say.
I like to say that I'm in capital goods, and I've been in capital goods for the last 20 some odd years. Started in mining equipment, electric mining shovels, rotary blast hole drills, essentially dinosaurs, just huge machinery. A lot of IP involved with this, with these products, very close customer relationships. and migrated through the capital goods market with concrete pumps, construction, and now in trucking. So what do I do in there? Well, I've always been client side facing. I've done everything from adjudicating warranty to building new products to all the marketing and communications, which, for lack of a better terms, is what I'm doing today, is more marketing and product. And as Dave would love to say it, and I like to say too, serving customers. But I'm also, it's not just my end customer. I'm serving a lot of people within the organization. So, what do I do? Who am I? I like to say I'm a team player. I'm building people, building processes, building brands, and just trying to enjoy every minute of the day, through the grind, because it really is.
So Justin, you said team.
Yes.
You also have some team experience, don't you? Are you a hockey player maybe? And have you served our country? Because you got to mention that. That's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I went to the United States Military Academy at West Point, played 4 years of college hockey there, Division I. And then after that, served 6 years as an infantry officer, did a couple tours, did counterinsurgency, which, I can draw connections to the non-war fighting side of the counterinsurgency operation to marketing. And it truly is, helping, I guess, improve lives is as simple as you could put it.
Oh, yeah. And you've like interacting with the people that you see on the street and trying to be there as, to build that relationship, right?
Oh yeah. That was, I'd say 95% of the job where I was located was, don't screw this up, Justin. Like, don't have your guys screw up. This is a pretty good situation here in the middle of Baghdad. I act as a de facto mayor in a way, and just working with the community, talking to the people, understanding what the problems are. And that was the first time I've ever really been an investigator, I'd say. And I just love doing that work. I love trying to figure out what's going on. What is the situation? Having more situational awareness, gathering data, triangulating that data, creating hypotheses, trying to destroy your hypotheses, trying to, see if your hypothesis is true, and just continue to get more and more information about what is going on so that I can better serve how can I help you or serve you? How can I help you? And that takes information, and it takes, it's a process. So, I love doing that, and it transitioned to into my professional career in corporate America. I don't think anybody would say that I roll over easy. I'm always challenging, even if I know what I'm saying is probably wrong. I'm going to still throw it out there, see what happins, see what, sometimes I just say things to elicit a response. I know Steve,
I'll tell you,
and that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, first of all, we are extremely honored to have a veteran with us. But when I was growing up, we had the draft.
Oh, wow.
So, and I came very close. My number came really close, and that was during the Vietnam War. I've my whole family came. We're all military and stuff like that, but I did not go because I did not get drafted. But I'm always honored to have any kind of a veteran to meet and to talk with and stuff like that. But I will say this: you had me at adjudicating.
It's a big word.
If you notice, I was busy looking it up.
I know,
because I was like, "What the hell?"
He was asking ChatGPT.
And then you say that you got your event. Oh, okay. That's where that came from.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. So Justin, you are a listener of our podcast. I think I know how you found out about it. Full disclosure, Justin was a client of mine at one point, and we got to be friends at that point. And So when the podcast came out, I know you were interested and it's in your field, but what do you like about it? Or what don't you like about it? We like feedback too.
Yes, let's toot our horn.
Yeah,
Please talk
exactly.
about us, Justin.
Let's go.
Yeah.
What do you want first? What I don't like, or what I do?
Yeah, whatever. You share,
whatever. It's
Okay.
yours.
All right.
Yeah. If you've even got suggestions for us, let's tell the world.
Yeah, let's tell everybody.
I thought there was some podcasts, you got me so hooked, and then that half an hour hits, and then it goes away, which I understand. I understand. Yeah. So the part twos are good. I like the part twos. So
usually we finish those conversations just ourselves.
We usually do, and then we say, "Oh, we have to record a part 2 of this." Yeah, we just keep talking.
Okay, so we appreciate that. Yeah,
that's good. That's good. Do you have a favorite episode?
I do have a favorite episodes, and it's actually a streak.
This one right now.
This one, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Aside from this one,
and then every future one where you bring me on. Or you mentioned me. Those are great. Right. So, first and foremost, I loved working with Dave. Dave is just the type of person where I can throw anything off of him. Life advice, marketing advice, just anything. So, and his voice is really nice to listen to. It's soothing.
The voice.
So, yeah.
The voice.
The voice. The best episodes the episodes I like the most. I think it was around November of 2021, you started getting into personas, and you ended with it was hunting moose in December, the customer segmentation. And I felt like the hunting moose episode was like and here's a poor analogy. I listen to a lot of Grateful Dead music, and they do these things. They mesh songs together, and they call it a segue. And it was like a segue between all of those, from that persona podcast building up to that hunting moose podcast, and it was just the pinnacle. And I was like, wow, that was great. That was a great
It all
ride.
works together. It all came together with the moose, didn't it?
It was almost as if you guys did it on purpose. So. And
there is nothing on this podcast that's being done on purpose.
and I loved it. And I love the question that you asked in that episode was, how do you start segment, or Dave asked it, how do you start segmenting your customer? It was a riddle. How do you eat an elephant?
Right. One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
You just got to start.
Small steps.
Small steps. You can't.
That's interesting. You brought that up because I would say that of everything that I have taught over the years, that's the one thing that people bring up the most is hunting moose, and I think it's just simply because it's what we're talking about is target marketing, but Kay and I came up with this idea of you're in the forest. For those people don't know what we're talking about. The way we look at target marketing is that you determine who your target market is going to be. You ask yourself what for, but they're an animal. And we always say, well, imagine that you're hunting moose. Where are the moose? They're not in Florida, they're up north, and you go into the forest, but there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other animals in the forest. So do you just go in there and just start blasting away? No, you are there for moose. And that's the idea of that. And Dave and I both completely agree on this idea that we are very, very focused on who our moose is. What attracts them, what are they looking for?
And almost, I wouldn't say, we literally don't mind ignoring everything else.
Yeah, you do ignore.
That's really the strategy, and it's hard for people to do because it's so tempting to take that extra piece of business, even though it doesn't fit with your focus strategy, or to go after something because you were playing golf and someone said, you've got to go after this. It's a growing market and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Or some private equity firm wants to invest and pressures you to do something.
And those are the challenges. I mean, we face those every single day. There's the moose that we want. There's the target. We know it's the target. We've stacked hands. Sales has stacked hand with marketing and operations, and we're saying, we're going after this. Here's our line card. We're selling this. This is what we're going to do. And then we call it a one-trick Charlie too. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere and it's like, hey, why don't we try this? Well, by the time I figure out how to do this, I'm probably not going to make any money on it. And I may not even do it very well. I probably won't do it very well. So let's be very focused on what it is that we're going to do and who we're targeting.
Yeah.
And then we can expand from there. But we do that baby steps. Again, back to baby steps. We take another bite.
Yeah, I call it being brilliant at the basics.
Yeah.
No, it's like remember years ago when the Green Bay Packers had Vince Lombardi as their coach years ago, he used to say, "Hey, nothing we do surprises our opponents."
I think they're going to run the power sweep next.
I think they're coming up the middle. And he said, but we do it so well that they can't stop us.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer of that as well.
And I just look at it this way too. If you're doing it really well, you're going to be able to become even more innovative at doing that really well. It builds upon itself. And that really gets into that differentiation and that uncopyable, one of your other very fine books that I've perused briefly. I got to dive into it.
It's all one syllable words. It's like I talk and think.
Right. You won't have any adjudication.
Takes, an hour.
No adjudication.
No adjudication.
No adjudication. That's right. No adjudication. I'm going to be using that word for the next 10 days.
I'm reading a great book right now called Chip War, which is about the Silicon Valley and silicon chips worldwide and how that all came together. It's actually fantastic. It reads kind of like a novel, all these people and what they did to develop all this stuff, but there was intense specialization and there were companies like Intel who, just kept, and Fairchild, which was the predecessor, that they would just do the same thing over and over. They did this Moore's Law thing came up with, they kept getting better and better every year. And there's a story about how the Soviet Union decided to basically copy it. And they said, oh, we'll just copy that. And they tried to, but by the time they were able to copy it, the people with experience were 3 or 4 or 5 years ahead anyway, and they've never caught up by copying. And so, I think you're right, Justin, that the specialization does feed on itself. You just get better and better and better at it, better than anyone at whatever your niche is.
Right.
So Justin, how do you approach marketing for your company with your team, sales and marketing, and how do you show that difference, between you guys? Because I always say, we always say, people don't do business with you because you are similar to the competition.
Right.
There's got to be something uniquely superior. How do you do that?
How do I, and it really depends too on what my purpose is. And I've found marketing is a very broad term. Even product management is a very broad term. Product marketing is a pretty broad term. So in many different companies or organizations, or at times in those organizations, my focus is on certain aspects. But I always I have this mental model that I always lean on of market analysis, strategic planning, product planning, go-to-market, and sales enablement. And it's like, what muscle am I going to use today? Is it sales enablement? Is it product planning? But what I truly find that makes the whole process smoother, but it doesn't always happen this way. It's not perfect. Not everything starts where you want it to start, because you're in the middle of the business and you still have to make top line growth today. and improve the bottom line. But voice of customer, getting out, talking to people, communicating, talking to your sales team, talking to the customers, talking to the various different people in that organization. What are they truly looking for? What are their problems? And it's almost, sometimes it's overwhelming because you're going in and you're thinking, I want to talk about this. I'm hoping, but I usually open it up a very broad conversation, which is, what's going on today, guys? And, and then 3-4 hours later, I've got 10 pages of notes. I've got all this insight on all the various challenges that they have. And I'll summarize that and I'll send it back to them and said, did I listen to you right? Can you check off and make sure that everything I said was true? And then we have an alignment. I have an alignment with the customer on what we talked about. And I truly have essentially verified what I heard. And then I can take what I've learned there and I can apply it to another customer when I'm in another conversation. And as I start to be able to triangulate all this information, I'll understand how I can help the broader market, help the customers. In some cases, it's very unique.
How often do customers bring up the thing that's on your list that you really wanted, you were chomping at the bit to talk about?
Well, it starts to become on my list when I'm start to talk to customers. So, it improves over time. But at first, holy cow, probably 5%. It might be part of the conversation, but there's always something else. And it's just good to communicate, not only with the customer, but internally as well in the company on, if we're going to head this direction and deliver this value, how are we going to be able to do it? Or what are your challenges too? Because, we can come up with the greatest idea ever, the best program, service, product. But if we internally can't serve it, then what's the point of even developing it? Like let's stay aligned on what we can do.
And that it's also important to the prospect, to the customer.
Absolutely.
Right. It's not what you think, what we think is important.
Yeah.
It's what they think is important, and I've in my collaboration with Dave, I've come to realize this guy is like the smartest voice of the customer guy I've ever met. And which probably means he's the smartest on the planet. And I love to hear him, as we get into these types of conversations like this, and he does not use big words. He does not say adjudicate.
No,
he doesn't even say.
I
don't think I've ever heard him say
idea,
triangulate. You see, I'm writing. You said triangulate too, there, Justin. So I'm writing these down because I want to.
One thing I love about the
me.
moose, I think one reason why the moose works is because people can picture a moose in their head.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody's seen a picture of a moose and they know it's a big animal with giant, weird shaped antlers. And so you picture it. But when you think about voice of customer in a moose, do you picture someone interviewing a moose? Because I just did. And I think that would be, I just think it's kind of a funny image.
I'm get on Dolly after we're done.
Yeah, I know. That's why I mentioned it
Mid-Journey or something like that. And
because that's voice of customer.
I love that. I mean, that sounds so that helps you to in the eyes of your moose, that helps them to see you as valuably different. Would you say, Justin?
If I look like a moose?
I mean that your take.
Like I'm picturing a moose talking to a moose. So
okay.
I gotta get down to moose level.
No, I'm talking about that. The more, because I another thing that I always say is the person who knows the most about their moose will win.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what you're saying with by using that voice of the customer.
And you learn that.
You go have those conversations, and then you could, like you say, you come back, you analyze it, you put it together, and then but then you go back for verification.
I go back for verification. And as we start to develop solutions, there's touch points with all the customers, especially the ones that I'm targeting. Am I doing this right? Guys, are we on the right track? There's so many more modifications. It never ends, really. You're always learning more from your customer. In my mind, the voice of customer process never ends. In procedures, it starts at the beginning and then it stops, and then you develop. In my mind, it's always it's the thread that keeps everything together.
Continuous voice of customer, continuous VOC, CVOC.
Okay,
I'm writing it down.
We're trying to get. I'm trying to, and Justin, you can help us with this too. I'm trying to help Mr. Voice. I call it my target market. Moose is target market. Okay. Yep. We know what voice of the customer is, but I want him to have a different term. Just like I use Moose. I want him to have a term that he can own.
And charting.
Yeah.
He needs a new term other than charting.
Yeah, charting is a new term. Right. See, I love language. Because from a marketer's perspective, part of being in is being on the mind of the prospect when the prospect is ready to buy, and if I can insert language into their conversation, then they think about me.
Yeah.
So when people start talking about Moose, people start talking about being uncopyable. When people start talking about Orange or something like that, I want them to think of me, and I would encourage you, same thing.
Exactly.
Find a way to adjudicate your language. I don't even know if I used that word right.
Probably not. So, Justin, what questions do you have? Any burning questions? Questions for Steve and Dave?
Questions for Steve and Dave? Yeah, there was a question that just popped in my mind as you were talking, Steve, and as you're part of the beauty of speaking with your customers is you start to learn their language, and they tell you basically how they want to be talked to.
Yeah.
And that sets you up for success. I'm wondering, did you ever have a customer that said, just pretend I'm a moose, and then you bounce this idea off of your wife, or was this truly your idea?
I'm not sure.
Where did you come up with the moose idea?
Where did you come up with the moose idea?
Moose?
Oh, it's in my book. It was actually not my idea. It was Reverend Robert Schuller, who said that to me. He was the very, very famous televangelist who had a church down in Southern California called the Crystal Cathedral, and every Sunday he had his own show called the Hour of Power, and he had me on a few times as a guest, and one time he and I were having brunch after church service, and he said, Steve, you should be a professional speaker. And I said, professional speaker? I mean, you mean you can get paid to speak? And he goes, like, I had no idea. He says, oh yeah, big time, right? Yeah. I said, well, how do you find people who hire speakers? And his question was, how do you hunt moose?
How do you hunt moose?
And and he my video keeps freezing on me, but I'm gonna just keep talking because
we hear you,
the audio people. He'd say, well, would you go to Florida? I said, oh, no, I wouldn't go to Florida. And he said, well, where would you go? I said, well, I go to Canada or Northern, or something like that. He said, and if you went in there, would you use a tennis racket? No, I'd have to get a moose gun.
Yeah.
And he said, and then would you bring, hostess ding dongs to attract, no, I'd have to get some moose bait. And so it was Robert Schuller, and I tell the whole story in Uncopyable, because he was such a heavy influence on my career, my speaking career and everything. He introduced me to many famous speakers and helped launch my speaking career from that. And I said, well, okay, that's great. Okay. And I immediately saw it from a marketing perspective, and I said, I'm stealing this, and
stealing genius.
And I said, yeah, turning this into that. And he was delighted. He thought it was really great. So that I was doing that. And so yeah, no, I cannot take credit for coming up with that concept. It was Dr. Schuler who did that.
And
somebody else might have given him that idea at some
probably.
point.
Probably.
There's so many things like when you read about like a lot of a lot of popular concepts today have their roots back 50 years, 100 years, 1,000.
Well, they've either been stolen or they've been that's the whole stealing genius concept.
Updated, repurposed.
Is that you take idea, you don't copy, you don't study your competition that hard. You study them to know where you are, where you stand with them. Okay, but you never study them for new ideas. You go outside your world. You go outside your box. I mean, people talk about being in the box. Nobody's ever really explained what the box is. Well, the box is your world. That's what it is. It's who you hang out with. I mean, capital goods. I mean, I've worked with a couple of companies that in that industry, and they got specific trade shows that they go to. ConExpo is starting this week, I think.
Right.
And,
all the usual suspects, right?
Yeah. And they read the same magazines, they go to the same meetings, they talk the same talk, all that sort of stuff. And they just look at each other and so the idea is you want to get out of the box. But people always say, "Oh, you need to get out of the box." Well, what the hell does that mean? You get out of the box and then what? No, you go find other boxes to study. You go find the other boxes of other worlds, other aliens, stuff like that, and then you build your own box. Then you build your own box, and you put your language in your box. You put your anchors, your triggers, your branding promises. You put your stuff in your box, and you use that.
Yeah.
Like communicate with your marketplace.
And there's lead users you can look at too, people who modify their certain products because they either for a practical reason or a fun reason. Schwinn knew that people were putting fat tires and like suspension stuff on their bikes and trying to ride them down mountains. They knew that. Those crazy people. Why would they do that?
Yeah. Certainly no market there.
Trek saw that and decided, hey, I think there might be something to this. Let's think outside. Let's go outside the box and build get in a different box. And they created an entire box that probably eclipses the original one.
Yeah. Is Schwinn even still around?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I don't know.
See? It's terrible.
I think they've been adjudicated out of existence.
I believe they have. That's
they've been triangulated out of existence.
I've only got a couple of big words, and those are the two.
Man, those are big.
Join the club.
Yeah, yeah. What else? Anything else? Any challenges you guys have, or just stuff you're working on, and that we can off the top of our head throw something at you.
Pontificate it.
Oh,
pontificate it.
Sorry. Oh, darn it.
God. Just getting slammed.
Sorry. Yeah, listen. How about another one, Justin?
I guess
one more question.
One more question.
Oh.
Let's keep it interesting. I'm assuming you guys are still working with clients. Dave, I know you're the interim CMO, and there's new boxes to jump out of that you're seeing. I guess I'm interested to see where is marketing going, or where is the experiences are going. Let's just say that. Where are digital experiences going? how are we integrating digital experiences into real experiences? How do we, and I was born, I'm 1982. So I'm kind of at the crossroads between not having the internet and having the internet. So I still highly value physical experiences, but I have a lot of digital experiences even when I was younger. And the way I look at it is, how am I using this digital world to improve my physical, which means that I don't even want to touch the digital. Anyways, what are you seeing? What are people talking about?
I have a prediction. My prediction is that as technology continues to unfold at a crazy pace, especially AI now, which is already impacting marketing in a huge way, I think there's going to be a resurgence, sorry, that's a big word too, of personal contact. Like you said, we cannot digitize and impersonalize everything. The beauty of good marketing to me is, you said it, was understanding your moose better. And can you understand your moose better than your competition by research on the internet or by spamming them with direct email or all that? I don't know, maybe a little bit, but
or can you cookies tracking you?
How about just going and meeting with the moose? And like I said with Steve, interviewing the moose and talking to them in person, in real life. IRL, in real life. I think there's going to be a lot of that, more than people think. I wouldn't mind leading that charge, because I'm just such a big fan of what you can learn by just actually talking to a human being.
One of my Peter Drucker was kind of like the godfather of management theory.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked in very simple terms. He would say, that the purpose of business is to create a customer. That was his entire the purpose of the business is to create a customer. Not, I'm sure that he meant to create and keep the customer, but that's what he said. But then he also said something that kind of has been the basis of my business, my company, for 37 years now, and that is that there are two, and I think I'm quoting him exactly here. There are two and only two functions of business: marketing and innovation. Everything else is just there to support those. Marketing, the way I look at it is that, and that's what I've based my company on. Marketing to me is just communication. So how do you communicate with your moose? How do you communicate with your marketplace? And it can be in multiple ways. That it can be it goes from the old days of it was all face to face. It was all personal, three-dimensional, handshake. Then as technology started to grow, then we got into the electronic, where it was via television, radio, newspaper, stuff like that. And so while it was not personal, it was still, when I say personal, I mean it wasn't human to human, but it was definitely another way of communicating. And then it got into like you say, the internet showed up, in the 90s, and now it has become also digital. But the fact is that and as stupid as marketing agencies are, because nowadays it used to be they called themselves advertising agencies, and then they changed themselves to marketing agencies, and now they call themselves digital agencies. All right. And they encourage companies to spend 100% of their marketing dollars digitally. And my response to all of this is that all of this stuff works. It just depends on your moose. Okay. How does your moose want to be communicated with? And that's all that matters.
Couldn't agree more.
And,
Steve, that this guy, Joe Sullivan, we know him, Gorilla 76. Did you get his email today?
Not today.
Okay. So he sent an email. It's called Gorilla 76, people, industrial marketing agency. He did not fall into one of the buckets of, that Steve was saying these companies are stupid because Joe and his team are really, really smart. They're so smart that they knew what we were going to talk about today, because this thing said, at its core, B2B marketing is so simple. Just for a minute, forget about all the buzzwords. And then he has a list of 20 buzzwords. And then he says, forget about all the channels. And he has a list of all the different ways you can get to people.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast, the source for B2B marketing and sales insight. If you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and leave these old guys a 5-star rating. Check the show notes for any links and contact information. You can always contact us by going to b2bmarketingsalespodcast.com. Thank you, and keep on marketing, keep on selling.
Joe and I have butted heads over a long period of time, because Joe was pushing digital 100%, and Joe was very down on trade shows.
Maybe he's
and I kept saying, Joe, everything works. Everything works for somebody. And you have to find out what works best for your moose, not for you, for your moose. He has softened that stance considerably. And
it's a very pragmatic approach. What he just said.
So in a very long roundabout way, Justin, I'm just simply saying that it's all still going to be people doing business with people. And I even say that B2B is more people to people than B2C.
I agree.
It's ironic, and the B2C people would laugh until they figured out we were right, because they'd have to think about it for a half a second and realize, oh yeah, we actually don't come in contact with any of the consumers we sell to.
Yeah, you're still doing business with a person. He or she just represents a company. Okay, yeah. But it's so you got the marketing part is that communication, right? Then the innovation, that's what separates you from the competition. Is what makes you valuably different, uniquely superior, relevantly, all that stuff to that person. And I'm going to tell you, part of it is that connection that you make with them. My smoking hot wife, Kay, wrote, in her book, Uncopyable Sales, she talks about thinking like Sherlock Holmes. And I think that's a big part of it, Justin, is that when we get to know people, like with you, we have learned about your military background, today, that where you were deployed, stuff like that. And it's learning things like that about people that help us to be better communicators with them. It means that I have to go out and learn a whole bunch of crappy military terms now, for my next conversation with you. No, I don't mean crappy.
Just so FM 7-8. There you go. Yeah, FM 7-8.
And also that you you went to you said Ann Arbor, right?
West Point.
See, no. I knew that. I see. I remember you were at West Point.
Well, it's Annapolis.
Annapolis.
I think you're trying to do it now.
So, right. Oh, exactly.
Isn't Michigan?
No, don't say the school up north. In Ohio, we call it the school up north.
The school up north.
Yeah. those other guys.
I'm gonna loop you guys back though, because the email that Dave read from, I forgot the guy's name, Joe.
From Joe, yeah.
Whatever. Joe. And what you just said, Steve, you might have butted heads back in the day, but you guys were just saying the same exact thing. Keep it simple.
And that's my point. See, that's my point. See, I think Joe has softened and realized that everything works.
Yep. And that's why I like this. That's why I like this podcast, to answer a question that I never answered at the beginning. We went right into my favorite episode, but I never got to answer. I said what's wrong with the show, but I never said why I like it. And it's simple. You know, again, all those details that you were talking about, Dave, all the buzzwords, all the channels. Part of me isn't interested in that until I have a better situational awareness and context of what am I doing? And then all that stuff kind of falls in place. And I know if I'm executing something and I'm measuring it, you know, I have confidence in what I'm doing. I like to have confidence in what I'm doing. I just don't like to do things.
I love how you just said falls into place, because I didn't read the very end of Joe's email, and it said, start with these fundamentals and all the other stuff will naturally come into focus. So, I mean, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's really smart. That's really smart.
Joe and
I learned it from Steve.
Yeah.
You helped Joe write that email?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. No, actually I did read that email, but I just wanted to act like I didn't. And when I read it, I thought, oh, no, that's a different Joe. You know, from what I've heard in the past. So, he's a very, very smart guy, and you know, so
Justin,
that's cool. So
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Mr. Voice.
I'll take us out.
Thanks for having me, Dave, and thanks for having me.
Don't say take us out in front of a military guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me execute the conclusion of the. Wait. I'm not supposed to say execute either. Okay, sorry. All right, let me take a shot at this. Shoot, I can't. Oh, sorry.
Don't think too hard.
Okay. You have been listening to the B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast with none other than Steve Miller, not the rock star, Kelly's dad, marketing gunslinger, all sorts of other things that we can't say on the air, and myself, just Dave. That's all. The Dave. And Justin Fagan, co-host of the day, co-host / guest with great insight. We appreciate that so much. Thank you very much. And we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.